Hi everyone, my name is Samir, and I have a huge love of the game of tennis. I've been playing since I was 4 years old, and more recently I've gotten back into the game and have asked myself the question, how can I actually improve my tennis game? So, through the Worldwide Science Fellowship, I decided that I wanted to spend my time trying to analyze the gaps in my tennis game. The question that always comes up is when I'm playing tennis and I see a bad performance, is it fatigue or is it my technique? And that's the central premise around what I'm trying to solve for. So when it comes to current tech within both tennis as well as life, you have your Apple Watch, your Aura Rings, Whoops, etc. These devices measure physiological symptoms like heart rate variability, your heart rate overall, and then your sleep score and readiness score. But when it comes to tennis tools, there are actually quite a few video editing tools that actually measure shot speed and shot distance and actually track errors. In fact, one of the most famous is Swing Vision, which actually measures different statistics like winners, unforced errors, etc., etc. However, what I'm trying to solve for is not just physiological indicators or tennis stats. I want to see if one actually influences the other. And as far as I know, no one has actually been able to successfully pair both of these two data sets together, which is the wedge that I'm trying to solve for. So my vision is a tennis prediction engine that uses physiological inputs to develop my in-game tennis strategy. So what did I build? On the left, you can see that I'm actually playing tennis myself. This was last week. And you can see that I'm taking a forehand shot. This has been converted into the dots and pipes that you see from Google Media Pipe. What it does is it actually translates videos into actual meaningful data symbols. And if you look at the frame by frame on the right-hand side, you can see that me, in a very tired state last week, was shooting in the forehand with very limited power. You can see that my peak racket hand speed was only 1.15. And this is measured by using not only the Google Media Pipe, but also some custom written Python code to translate these elements into actual meaningful results. So some initial findings, again, this is off of myself. So an N of 1 and only a few data points. However, you can see something that's interesting coming to light. In the days when I measured my performance when I was at peak readiness and peak sleep, I actually had a higher swing speed. And in days when I was much more tired, my swing speed was much lower. So you can see that there was actually a very strong correlation between readiness and swing speed. Now again, this is just very initial data, and there's much more that needs to go into building a data set like this. But to me, this reads as a very encouraging sign that perhaps there is some relationship between these physiological indicators and actual tennis outcomes. So where do I take it from here? Obviously, I want to amass a larger data set, both longitudinally for myself as well as with others. I really want to be able to tell which variables tell the best story. From there, I want to actually build a prediction model. For example, does a bad readiness score mean that I'm going to be making shorter shots? And then finally, I want to build the actual strategy engine. For example, do shorter shots mean that I need to go to the net more? Now, you may be asking the question, isn't everyone different? Isn't everyone's outcomes different from when they sleep less? The answer is truly maybe, but I want to see if there's commonalities in the data that can help me, and hopefully others, use their own body's data to play the game of tennis a little bit more strategically. Now, the question you may also be asking is, did I spend this whole time, the last 3 months of the fellowship, working on just this tennis idea with limited data points? The answer is no. I've had the fortunate opportunity to pivot a few times. I started by building a hardware device to better test cognitive impairment through reaction time testing, which I then converted into a software version, which I then converted into a full-on coaching dashboard that measured player performance, player injury, and paired it with the reaction time testing. However, I decided to focus my efforts on the tennis idea. So now what? I will continue to collect data on myself and others to refine these models. And that's where I plan to spend the next 30 to 90 days. I wanted to say thank you to everyone involved, including, and appreciate your time.